3, 2, 1, I'm on.
Action.
Well, welcome to MerpCon II, and welcome to my presentation on Michael Martinez, the author of Visualizing Middle-earth, Permanent and Dorian Essays on Middle-earth, and Understanding Middle-earth, Essays on J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. Notice how I managed to say Middle-earth very often. I'm going to start out tonight. MerpCon, of course, is a convention for gamers who specialize in Tolkien world-type gaming. So I'm going to read to you, start out with a little essay I wrote for Indiana Source, just died. And it's called The Belt Buckle of Truth. It was an essay I wrote last year that anticipates the Lord of the Rings online game. So here we go. Let's face it. If I had been a member of the Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn and Boromir probably would have left me behind in Moria. I would have gotten caught up in arguing with the other members over whether the Balrog really had wings or if they were just an illusion it was casting with his power. By the way, the No Wingers camp should try that one on for size and see what they can make of it. Gandalf might have been amused at my attempts to pin down Elrond and just how many great princes and captains there would have been at the breaking of Thangorodrim versus the marshalling of the hosts of the last alliance of elves and men. Sure, he was there on both occasions, but did he actually take names? After all, except for Elendil, Isildur, Gil-galad, and maybe one or two others, he doesn't really mention anyone. Why is that? Gimli probably would not have had much to say to me. After all, dwarves don't really care much for the details of history. They know someone done their granddaddies wrong, and that is good enough for them. Had Thorin paid closer attention to matters when he fled Aragorn with his father and grandfather, he probably would have figured out that there was a secret door somewhere. Maybe he could have asked them if they had stopped to carve a dual curse on the gold jar, which is pictured in Conversation with Smaug. Boromir would have liked me the least. I would have been rubbing his nose at his lack of proper royal credentials at every opportunity. He had a pretty snide sense of humor, always picking on other people and belittling them. I don't like people who behave that way. It's just so petty. He didn't deserve to be king of Condor. Who did he think he was, aspiring to royal status anyway? His brother had a right sense of place and duty. Now, the hobbits and I would have had a blast. They were always getting into trouble. Heck, I would have been right there beside Sam, comforting Frodo on the weathertop, saying obsequious things like, hey, anyone would have put that ring on. It wasn't your fault. By the way, are you going to eat that trail bread? Pippin and I would have traded barbs back and forth all day, quick one-liners, bad puns, singing songs off-key. Merry would probably have been good for a practical joke or two. As a Bucklander, he probably spent a great deal of time mobbing corn cobs at the farmers in the Marish, meeting their daughters behind haystacks and lighting fires underneath the trees of the old forest. Legolas would have struck me as odd. Of course, I probably wouldn't have gotten to say a word to him on most days anyway. What Tolkien didn't bother to tell us is that he had a girlfriend at every trail stop and roadside inn. And yes, elves do sleep in bed, so why on earth would they want to pass up a flea-ridden bed in a local human inn? Leggy and I would have had a few flirting contests to see who would snag the most smiles and hair twirls, but he would win. We all know that. You see, that is really what adventuring in Middle-earth should be all about. Hanging out with the 9 dudes, just cruising from great moment to great moment, sneaking in some quality backstage time while the great debates rage in Elrond's council. You know that 2 months the Fellowship spent in Rivendell before starting out for a Region? That would be some immense magic-making time, folks. Imagine all the spells we could entice Gandalf and the elves to lay on our swords, our armor, or trail bed. For that matter, any good alchemist knows you can enchant anything. Me, I want a belt buckle that would force anyone to tell me the truth, no matter how hurtful it might be to their reputation. You see, if I were to make it across the Anduin with Sam and Frodo, I wouldn't put up with all this swear by the precious nonsense that Frodo found to be so fair and just. Nope. I would just have laid Gollum down and said, all right, Gollum, either you start telling us how to get into Mordor or I take off my belt. And then I would want boots of hobbit chastisement. You see, traveling with 4 hobbits is a bit like herding cats. You can only put up with so much whining about, when do we eat again? And I am wasting away to a wraith. Enough of that garbage. With my boots of hobbit chastisement, I'd give him just a swift kick and everything would be okay again faster than you can scream, fool of a took. Now, no good adventurer can go on the road without a +9 magic sword of foe slaying and monster taming. After all, that is what Farmer Giles had when he met Chrysophilax, right? So clearly, Tolkien had one lying around in the closet. Elrond's elvish smiths probably would have needed a little practice before reforging Narsil anyway, and they had 2 months for crying out loud. Add to that my leather jerkin of aerial repulsion, so no one would mistake me for a big warrior or a dumb wizard in robes. My backpack of endless useful items. A full set of dishes, a tea set, a tablecloth, cheese, crackers, cookies, ambiguous leafy green things, bread, milk, onions, potatoes. Was there any room for anything useful in that poor pony's bag? After all, I'm sorry, I just skipped half the paragraph. Let me back up here. Can you imagine Sam trying to pack Bill the pony with all the crazy stuff hobbits carry? Ooh, I really messed up. Can we back this up?
You bet.
Okay.
Go ahead. I can always edit.
Now,
One thing is, do you want to slow down a little? Enjoy it?
you're going to start it over?
No. But just go slower because you're going through it really fast.
I know. Now, no good adventurer can go on the road without a +9 magic sword of Flo's saying, Flo's...
Easy for you to say.
That's really easy for me to say. Now, no good adventurer can go on the road without a +9 magic sword of foe slaying and monster taming. After all, that is what Farmer Giles had when he met Chrysophilax, right? So clearly, Tolkien had one lying around in the closet. Elrond's elvish smiths probably would have needed a little practice before reforging Narsil anyway, and they had 2 months for crying out loud. Add to that my leather jerkin of aerial repulsion, so no one would mistake me for a big dumb warrior or a dumb wizard in robes, my backpack of endless useful items, my rope of everlasting tension, my self-heating cooking pots and pans, my +5 whip, and my fishing net of sustenance, and I would be set to go. Can you imagine Sam trying to pack Bill the pony with all the crazy stuff hobbits carry on their road trips? I mean, silk hankies, white cakes, beer, ale, wine, a full set of dishes, a tea set, a tablecloth, cheese, crackers, cookies, ambiguous leafy green things, bread, milk, onions, potatoes. Was there any room for anything useful in that poor pony's bag? After all, the party could have used a tent of many rooms, impervious to both rain and hail, and capable of sustaining up to 4 inches of snow. 2 months is just such a long time to sit in Rivendell doing nothing but twiddling your thumbs. I would have driven Gandalf nuts with my constant, when are we going to leave? Not just yet. So, can I get you to cast some spells for me? No, now leave me alone. I would have had it all worked out, too, assuming Elrond had 4 alchemists and a couple of magicians sitting around the house, swapping lies and old stories. I could have had them churning out magical glow-in-the-dark at will, armor for the hobbits, a couple of fly spells later, and we'd all have breaches of fast travel. Forget the eagles who were soaring over Mordor in the wings of elven bell-bottoms dudes. It's so righteous. Legolas would have had 2 quivers of multiple critical arrows, a couple of explosive fireball arrows, at least 1 arrow of teleportation, and a bow of defense with a +25 shield, and a full set of deflection bonuses. No orc arrow would ever come near him. Boromir's Sillyhorn would have been replaced with a fully symphonic bardic sound system in a leather cabinet, completely embedded with spells of sound control, ambient setting, and momentous declarations. He would have had a cloak of total warmth, a belt of deflection, and a saddle of shadow steeds so that he could ride across the mountains and bring help if necessary. Now, Aragorn would need